What's up, y'all? Welcome back to NOLA Girls Talk Podcast. Today we got a special guest. Um, Someone I actually been knowing for a very long time. He owns a mental health clinic. I believe what's the name of the mental health clinic?
The Gift Mental Health Clinic.
The Gift Mental Health Clinic. His name is Will. But we wanted to discuss mental health today, so I reached out to him um so he can like basically share some different things with us about mental health. um so I don't know if you want to just take over and talk a little bit about the clinic and everything y'all offer.
Most definitely. Well, first and foremost, thank you, No Little Girls Podcast, for having me.
Yes.
I've been doing mental health for the last ooh, 7 years. 7 years. 2016, I started in mental health. At this time, right now, for me, mental health is such a prominent need in the community and amongst the millennials due to us experiencing the things that we've experienced the last 3 years alone. And with my agency, what we do is we offer services to the community for children 5 all the way up to geriatrics, which is the older population.
Okay.
And with those services that we provide, we help assist with resources around the neighborhood and around the city. We provide services from Orleans, Jefferson to St. Charles Parish, and we have some St. John Parish as well. The mental health agency is based on community psychiatric support and treatment and psychosocial rehabilitation services. We also offer psychotherapy services, which are rendered by licensed clinical social workers and licensed professional counselors. We also have psychiatric evaluations that we do as well, that's rendered by a psychiatrist or a nurse practitioner that specializes in psychiatry. So at this time, this is the services that we're offering in regards to mental health.
Okay.
Um, Mental health for me, the stigma that came with mental health growing up was something that I always had in the back of my mind, but it always made me think like, if you're talking about your mental health, you crazy, you got to go to the third floor. That's basically what we learned. That's how we learned it.
Mm-hmm.
Once I got into the industry and I was able to learn details and what it basically meant when you're dealing with our mental and our physical go hand in hand. So basically, it's not necessarily saying you're crazy. It's identifying your triggers from your trauma that you've received in your life. And trauma could carry us forever, especially as a Black community. Trauma with the things that we endured as children from peers, parents, families, all that can entail and drag along with you in your everyday life. So for me, once I learned that mental health is much more on a scale of your behavior patterns, being able to identify with your behavior, why you act a certain way, why you have outbursts, why are you angry, and not having healthy coping mechanisms to assist you to minimize yourself for having an outburst in regards to whatever your diagnosis is. So for me, that added to me wanting to be a prominent figure to those who needs mental health, to those who lack the information about mental health, and to those who want to provide mental health services to the community. So
Okay.
that was my introduction into mental health and why I decided to stick with it.
Well, that's a lot. And I didn't even know like y'all service um from, you said, Orleans to St. John Parish.
Orleans, Jefferson, St. Charles to St. John. And you know what? We actually just started servicing St. Tammany Parish as well.
Okay. Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
But prior to COVID occurring, we were only able to provide services with um with parishes that touched our parish that we were licensed in. But
Okay.
once COVID came into play, they lifted a lot because you were able to provide telehealth services since we were on lockdown. So we
Gotcha.
just kept providing those services to those people. I just feel as though if I could, I'd provide services to the whole state of Louisiana,
Mm-hmm.
because without mental health services, we see a decline in our children being able to push forward to be our future. Because my issue is the fact that if these children are our future, why are we not providing services that's just not for your physical health? If
Right.
physical and mental go hand in hand, if I don't have the mindset for what I want to do or what I want to be or how I want to have do an everyday life, that means that I can have it all together physically, but mentally I messed up in the head. And that's not
Right.
something that you can display. That's not something I could read from you just by looking at you. That's something you have to be able to talk about and be able to express. So with that, I want to be able to provide that resource to the community without with just basically minimizing the stigma that has been attached to mental health for so long.
Yeah. Um, I really wanted to touch on um, this whole topic with mental health and everything, just like with everything that's going on in our city,
Mm-hmm.
uh, like just the crime, our
Mm-hmm.
kids, these teenagers. It's just a lot that's going on. And I also just want to like shine light on your clinic, like mental health and what y'all offer and stuff like that. And I did have some questions
Mm-hmm.
that I wanted to ask about like different things with mental health, like different ways. My first question, how can you prevent mental health problems? How
Well,
you think?
honestly, I don't feel as though mental health will ever be a problem that you're able to prevent. I look at it in a sense of being proactive instead of being reactive to your mental health issue.
Yeah, that
So if
makes
we
sense.
are able to identify that you're having a mental health issue, being able to have the resources. I think the resources is 100% what you need. You have to be open-minded in regards to getting a resource, asking for help, and knowing that you have internet access, that you're able to get on the internet and find help wherever you need it. So mental health isn't something that you can prevent due to the fact of in this life, unfortunately, we will always be met with um hardships, heartbreak, loss of people, loss of things that can cause you to have anxiety, that can cause you to have depression, that can cause you to have anger outbursts. So it's nothing that could be preventative in that sense, but being proactive and being able to know how to apply for the help and where to go to look for the help is definitely what I feel is the best way to not prevent it, but to be able to cope with it, have a
Yeah,
coping tool for it.
yeah. Um, Also, how can people identify mental health issues, like them having issues? How can they identify that it's mental health?
Hmm. In this climate, identifying mental health is being able to understand your people language of being able to express themselves. If you feel as though or you come in contact with someone that just listen, I just had a bad day and I just want to talk to you about my bad day. So if I'm talking to you about my bad day and I go into details, you give me feedback, you give me things that's able to, for me to understand, even giving me a different perspective. Because when I'm coming to someone, I'm coming to you from my shoes only, especially when I want to express something. So if when I'm expressing to you and you're able to identify with the fact that, okay, this person has expressed to me their issues, but I don't see it being resolved amongst conversation, being able to see that, okay, if you can't talk it out with me, let me go ahead and just extend the offer to find you give you the resource to go and look
Yeah,
for professional help.
yeah,
So especially when you're dealing with people that has like I mean, we all dealing with issues. We're dealing with the inflation that's going up. We dealing with the crime. We're dealing with the fact that even though that we have the crime, they can't identify that the crime is being caused by the substance abuse or the lack of mental health services being offered. They just want to slap them in jail and slap a charge. But it's just to the point where, do you know what that child's or do you know what that adult's mental history has been? Do you know what they've been through
Yeah.
physically? Is it documented in regards to the trauma that they've experienced? So me personally, I just feel as though once you're able to open your mind to share mental health ideas, mental health resources without feeling like, oh, I'm crazy, it'll be better in people receiving it and you as a person being able to share it.
Yeah. Um, my other question was, how can mental health be improved? But I feel like you also like touched on it
Mhm.
because if you're able to get that help, seek the help, if you're willing to seek the help that you need, I feel like that helps improve mental health.
Yes.
Also like, I think the resources, I feel like there's not there's not a lot of resources
Mhm.
here in the
Mhm.
city
Mhm.
um for mental health.
Yes.
That's just in my opinion. I don't know too much about it or where all of the resources are offered.
Mhm.
Um like in the schools. I know sometimes they
Mhm.
have social workers that go into the schools and all of
Mhm.
that, but I just feel like it's not I don't know the word I want to say, like broadcast enough, or like,
Mhm. Yeah.
it's not out there. You know how they broadcast other things. It's just not
Yeah.
broadcast enough, like the resources.
Yes.
Um, and speaking of that, like at your clinic, um, I think I read on the site that you
Mhm.
all accept Medicaid
Yes, we
insurance.
do. We do accept
So
most major Medicaid insurance.
so how does that work? Like it had like to be able to like be serviced at your clinic.
Okay, upon inquiring about services, we do have a website, which is the Gift Mental Health Clinic, well, the giftmentalhealth.com. And in there you can go ahead and submit your name, your phone number, your contact information, and what you're inquiring about. Once we receive that, it's within we have a 48 to 72 hour window to go ahead and get you scheduled to have a biosocial assessment completed by a licensed mental health professional. With that, and that means that they can basically practice independently with their license, like a licensed clinical social work, a licensed professional counselor, or a licensed marriage and family therapist. They'll go ahead and complete the assessment. They'll do a detailed on everything you have going on, everything you feel as though you're having issues with. Once that assessment is complete, from that assessment, it'll be determined if the services that we provide, you qualify for that service, and we'll go
Okay.
ahead to continue to provide and start that service for you. And in between then, because it comes to the point where when you're doing an assessment, you may need or want to inquire about having a psychiatric evaluation completed as well. So in that assessment, that licensed professional will have the determination after the assessment is complete if you'll be referred out to a psychiatric, well, not referred out because we have it in, but if you'll be able have to see the that's that nurse practitioner or that psychiatrist.
Okay.
So upon enrollment of services, you get an assessment completed, and with that assessment determines if you qualify for the services that we offer
Okay.
within 48 to 72 hour turnaround.
And is Medicaid, is that like the
Now,
only insurance
at
y'all
this
accept?
time, I am accepting Medicaid, most Medicaid plans, Humana commercial plans, and we're in the process of doing Blue Cross Blue Shield commercial plans.
Okay. Okay.
Yes.
Okay. Let me see. Okay, my last question. Because I did some research and all of that before this interview. So my last question is, are there any cures for mental health problems? And what can people do if they are worried about their mental health?
The first thing is to educate yourself on your insurance plans. We need to educate, be more aware of the insurance providers that we have for insurance. And that's that's if you're working on your job, that's if you have Medicaid. Educate yourself, read about those pamphlets and those packets they send you when you're receiving insurance. And oh shucks, I forgot the other part of your question.
What can a person do if they are worried about their mental health?
The first thing to do, recently within, I think this year, nationally in the United States, they have created a crisis line like 911 for an emergency. It is the mobile crisis line, 988. So when you're having an issue and you're not signed up with anyone with services or anything like that, you can get on any landline, any cell phone and dial 988 and speak to someone that could assist you in regards to your crisis that you're having at that moment. Once you speak to them, they'll go ahead and it'll be a brief assessment, but it'll be a determination if you need to be able to go to an outpatient clinic service, a crisis service to come like physically to you, or if you need to be considered an inpatient. So 988 is your best bet when you're having a mental health crisis or a mental health issue at that time being. If you're not getting serviced by a mental health institution at all.
Gotcha. Okay. All right. Well, thank you for that information. You say the number is 988 that they will dial for mental health crisis.
Yes.
Okay.
Thank you so much for having me. I appreciate
it. Thank you so much thank you for taking the time out to even do this interview. I really appreciate it. We appreciate it. Again, y'all, the clinic is the Gift of Mental Health, correct?
Yes. Yes.
And it's located on Canal Street.
Yes, 3301 Canal Street.
And do you have to have like an appointment to come there? Like
you call? Appointments are not needed, but they are preferred. But we're open 24/7. We have a 24/7 line that you can contact us in regards to inquiring about services.
Okay. And what's the number?
The number is going to be 504-644-2575.
Okay. All right. Well, again, thank you so much for taking the time out to do this interview. I really appreciate it. We appreciate it. My co-host wasn't able to join today. So it's just you and I. But thanks again.
More than welcome. I definitely wouldn't mind doing a 2.0. And then my 2.0, what I'll do is I'll have my nurse practitioner and my licensed clinical social worker to come on board and speak about some things clinically that could be able to be shared amongst the community.
Okay. All right. Well, of course, I'm going to tag you in this video and also include the clinic and all of that information.
Yes.
But again, thank you.
Thank you. I appreciate it. You have a good evening.
You too.